Hey, hello, welcome. It is that time of the year. We're gonna do unscripted gaming. I got two special, beautiful people here.
We're filing our taxes
It is. It
live
is.
in the
Soon,
studio.
soon. Yeah,
We're submitting our IRS W-2s to the video game gods.
I think that's still just the IRS.
It probably is.
Who are your names? I'm Ray. What are your names over there?
I guess I'm Mike.
All
Hi.
right, all
I'll
right.
I'll be Josh today. Let's do it.
Excellent, wonderful. So, it's the annual Game of the Year, Unscripted Gaming's Game of the Year list. In case you're new to the podcast, and there are some new people. Hello, I appreciate you.
In case you're unfamiliar with the concept of the end of a year,
Right.
We've gone around the sun one time. We're gonna do it again,
Mhm.
and statistically things are gonna get weirder.
Mm-hmm.
and look,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you just got to make it through next week,
Yeah.
and then the week after that,
That's a
And
good
then
way
the
to go
week
about it.
after that.
and the next one.
So, let's go ahead and talk about now. The game of the year is not definitive for any of us. We go through our top 5 picks, and it's just 5 picks that we believe were really good games in 2023, and then we go ahead and make our piece. No one, it's not a win-lose thing. It's just what we thought were like games that stood out to us.
So
And
mine's the answer key. But also, uh,
mhm,
just a fair warning. Any games that you hear, if you hear us say on the list, we are probably going to spoil in some way, shape, or form. We will do our best to not give up everything, but
mhm.
getting into why we had the reactions we had, sometimes we're gonna get into spoiler territory. So fair
Just a
warning.
tiny bit. Yeah. I do want to take a moment, unlike the Game Awards did, just a moment to say, like, hey, if you were making video games, 2023 was a
You
rough
probably had
year.
a bad year.
Yeah, if you were
Yeah.
one of the people that were working under the Embracer Group, man, my heart's out to you. I've worked for the Embracer Group twice in my gaming career, and yeah, yeah. mm, Pro tip to everybody: if your business model depends on the Saudi Arabian government giving you $2 billion, you have a bad business model. People are saying this. Um,
But Ray,
and
counterpoint,
mm,
unlimited money with
clearly it's not.
with heavy strings attached.
Clearly it wasn't, because what if they just say no and then your business model instantly crumbles in front of your eyes?
That did happen pretty quick.
Yeah.
I would simply not count my
My
Middle
my
Eastern
Saudi
oil
sovereign wealth fund money
right
before it cooked.
before it
Before,
before it
before the check
divests.
cashed.
Yeah. The Saudis do be diversifying, and sometimes you're not in the portfolio anymore.
They went from They went from we need this money in, I think it was May, to the newsletter they announced in June, like, we're going through a massive restructuring and we are going to lay off 15% of the workforce.
You know what they say? Go woke, go broke. All right.
I don't even. Look, getting Saudi Arabian money is like the opposite of going woke. The literal polar opposite.
Yeah.
Goodness. And it's not just that. It's like, even if you worked for like a successful company, there were just massive layoffs.
Yeah.
Even if you were good at your job, you might have gotten laid off, and that really sucks.
Yeah. I think we kind of talked about it really well last time, I feel like, but it just is a real bummer that the way most companies are designed to run is continued year over year growth
Yeah.
in an environment that depends on, 0% interest rate basically. And the second there is not unlimited free future money, the only way forward is to, you know, blow up people's lives and stuff. It's just a real, um, it's the way these companies are structured, and it's just a
Mhm.
real bummer. And
Yeah.
I think things should be done differently.
It
Yeah.
is. It is a hard contrast to look at the pretty banner year we had in
Mhm.
2023 with a lot of great releases and a lot of really critically well received games and commercially received games and fan received games, and to still see such uncertainty. What was the day after? I mean, that was a studio that released a game and 5 days later said we're done. Like it wasn't good and we're out of business. Like there's a lot of uncertainty going on in the
Yeah.
gaming
All
market.
the
Just-
companies you bring up the scam video game.
Hey. I mean,
Big country.
we got all ends of the spectrum going on in 2023. Like
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've endorsed scams on this.
the
This is a pro
the
scam
2023
podcast.
bingo card is completely filled out. Like
This is a pro scam podcast. This is financial advice. We are your
Josh, did
financial
you-
advisors.
guys, let me tell you about crypto.
Fall for scams.
I
They'll
think
make
it
you
is
money
part of a
eventually.
well-balanced portfolio.
Gotta have a
Josh,
little
does it,
scam
did
in
you
there.
know that the creators, or rather the two main developers of the studio that made the day after, they were just Russian game devs that just ran off with the money? The special.
Again,
Yeah. That's they
this
played
is a,
the,
hi-
they
this is a
played
classic
they played the
hijinks
long
exception.
con too, because they put
Right.
out a couple games. There were some games before that. So, you know what? Good. Round of applause.
Look, this is just
No.
the video game development version of the greatest job you can have in America, which is fired football coach.
Fired
Facts.
football coach.
This is like the tech world version of fired football coach is shuttered game development studio owner.
There's some truth to that. Yeah. Because normally they don't get punished that hard. Shout out to Tim Sweeney for firing, what was it, like 8,000 people or some No, it's not 8,000. It was some stupidly large number of Epic Games and almost destroying Bandcamp as a website. And him just saying, "Yep, them's the breaks."
Well,
That's so
company
crazy.
also what company also said, I think it was also Tim Sweeney or somebody related, but who then said when a certain game wasn't getting ported or brought over immediately, they said, "Oh, because we don't have enough programmers." And it's like, bro, you fired 20% of your employees this year. No wonder you don't have enough programmers.
Who was it? That was.
I thought it was
forget what's
Epic, but I might be wrong.
No, it wasn't Epic. Epic did the very dumb thing of like, yeah, we fired a bunch of people because we spent more money than we had. Like, shout out to him for just owning it, but like, dude, come
like,
on.
I don't want to sound like one of those people that is like, if you don't have yet, modern finance isn't just about having like a piggy bank and then you don't have any money anymore. You can't it doesn't work quite like that. But like sometimes people need to go back to the basics of like, can you spend money you don't have?
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
you can't.
Sometimes
Then you get the ulterior motive of like, hey, what if we just do a bunch of round of layoffs? Then we can rehire these people at everybody's different company at a cheaper labor cost, and start the cycle
Sometimes.
over again. So
Sometimes. I think there is. If I was to end this tiny segment on a positive note, because okay, a lot of friends and colleagues were working at Volition, which was one of the companies that had a major layoff. I used to work at Volition, and that was 180, 185 people that like studio 1 p.m. we're closing down. You have 2 hours to clean out your desk. It was that serious. I want to say most of the ones I know, most everyone has landed on their feet. And I can say like a large amount of them have taken like a lesson learned type of thing. And like several of them, I won't name names or anything, but several of them are now either working for co-op studios or just like much smaller, better indie studios. They had their choice. They had options of like larger ones, but they're like, I'm not taking that risk anymore. And that I respect a lot more. There's a lot more Midwest video game studios cropping up. Madison, Wisconsin is becoming a huge gaming hub, and that's cool to me. Like, well, so the giants are bleeding, but from that blood are rising like
yeah,
newer development, and
I feel like we've
that's
talked
cool.
about this too, where it's like we're in an age of like quadruple A games are just like, and if your game isn't like a smash hit seller with a live service multiplayer game that can go on forever, like you have to lay off like half your studio because you didn't do that, and that's crazy and unsustainable, and we're beginning to see that. And hopefully that, again, the kind of positive flip side here, hopefully this means like people get to like start smaller companies, more mid-sized like games that are like produced and made reasonably and ethically, I guess.
Sustainably.
Sustain. That's a great word for it, I think.
Yeah. You don't have to like put all your eggs in one basket and hope that your live service game gets 50,000 people in day one and crashes your server.
But what if it's like a really great looking basket, you know? It's got all the little
What if the
bits and
basket has great jiggle physics? Let's talk about that for a second.
We gotta save that for higher up the list.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Yeah, let's get to the list.
Oh wait, actually, can I do a dishonorable mention?
Ooh, yes.
I do have a special mention, so please get your dishonorable one out there.
Well, honorable mention. I wanted to spend more time with it, but didn't play enough of it, I feel like, to justifiably put it on here. Pizza Tower.
Oh yeah.
Cool looking, kind of like grimy looking little Wario Land-esque platformer. I just wanted to spend more time with it, didn't, but really liked the vibe. It's really great. Like, again, feels like it's right out of like 1997 or 98, like something you played on like the Nickelodeon website, which is great.
Yeah.
Dishonorable mention, Diablo 4.
Damn.
A bummer game for I don't know, just kind of a bummer to play. It's a bummer to be in that world. Everything is bad and super the worst thing possible. It's just so one note. I got so sick of it. And then it was just like did not have any real joy playing that game, honestly.
Yeah.
And then thankfully a great fantasy RPG came along and took care of all of my complaints with Diablo 4, so I didn't have to keep playing it. So
that's cool. I have one honorable mention. It doesn't belong anywhere on the Game of the Year list, but I played it and really liked it, and it came out this year. It's called Gear Bits. It's a little indie, not Armored Core. It's a slice, a combination between Armored Core and Starship Troopers. You play a giant mech, but you're shooting waves of bugs and protecting bases and protecting convoys, and you're fighting other mechs and you're protecting cities. And I didn't know I wanted movie Starship Trooper, specifically the movie version, with Armored Core, but here we are. And it's made by one person. One person took, I think it took them over the course of 8 months in early access to make it. And I played it and I beat it, and I'm like, man, this is really cool. I'm so glad that this one person was so passionate. And they released it right before Armored Core 6 came out. So they went right under the line because, once Armored Core 6 comes out, the mech audience is tapped. And I want to put that out there because I think that's dope. I think everyone should try it. It's like $10 on Steam. Nice. And you could do they have a free demo on their website. Quack Pond Games. Go play the demo. See if you like it. I think it's neat.
Nice.
Now we can, unless Josh has an honorable mention, we can get to the number 5.
My honorable mention this year, struggled not to put it on the list, but Destiny 2 Lightfall, the campaign from this year. I know we had some mid-year struggles, but the front half and the back half of that expansion this year have, I think, brought some really positive changes to the game. I know there's a lot of outside stuff. It's a tough to follow up a very, very good expansion right before the very last one and kind of put all the last puzzle pieces in place. But I think they've done a good job to build some intrigue and turn me into at least a Destiny sicko curious person. And
curious.
It's good.
All right, that's cool. So, well, I'll start with my number 5. My number 5, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. To go ahead and get my very brief reasoning out there, I think that game is really special. I think what Nintendo pulled off is magic from a game design perspective. The joy I had in my face when I got off of the little, training islands and I built a little car and I put a little flamethrower on the back of the car and the flamethrower made the car go and I put a fan on the back of it. So we were just bursting along with a little flame going off the back. And because I couldn't steer the car because I just made it, it crashed into a rock. Then the land behind me was on fire and everything around me burned and I died. Um, and I think this happened to everyone the first time they built a car. It's like, yeah, this is great. This is great. This is cool. And then the game keeps going, and I saw a video of Mike built a jet, and so I
Uh-huh.
tried to I got to that section you were in, and I tried to build a jet. It's the fact that the game introduces these wonderful, fun little moments that you can constantly have, and I really, really find that special. If I was a little kid, and I'm talking like below the age of 10, and this game came out when I was 10 years old, I would cry tears of joy. I think this is a super special Zelda game. That's my number 5. Now, wait, to cap off why it's number 5 and not anywhere higher. I did not like playing it after hour 25. I like the sky section of the game. I like the underground section of the game. I'm glad they exist. I think that took chutzpah for Nintendo to use the same map, but then still add to it. But I think there is too much of a good thing, and that is. Some of those temples weren't fun. I can't defend the Fire Temple. I think it's bad. I think it's poorly designed. I had no fun doing it. And Josh is still playing this game. I have opinions of that final boss fight, and none of them are positive. Godspeed to you, Josh.
I actually, on the way to record this podcast, I played.
Uh-oh.
I played about an hour.
He found the Bokoblin. Roll done.
It stabbed me in the back with a wooden spear while I was trying to do one of those, clear out the enemy encampment missions with your buddies, all wearing like saucepans. From behind, 7 health, boom, done, roasted. Which a long wooden spear doing 7 hearts of damage to supposedly the greatest swordsman in Hyrule is absolutely unimaginable and unforgivable. Like,
I love the story of Josh getting shish kebabbed by a Bokoblin.
Donor Kalink.
I hate this game.
Oh wow.
But I can't stop playing it. Which is why, up until about an hour ago, it was not on my list.
Okay.
But this last hour, it snuck on at number 5.
Really? We got the same number 5.
Like, I hate the gameplay. I truly, truly do. There are some sections of the game that are very, very boring. But I'm also so intrigued. But I also don't know why, because there's so little story in the middle of the game when, like, you're just bumping around. It's like, hey, go to the next spot. And they're like, oh, hey, you should probably go over here. Where? Fuck if I know. Like, I don't understand. Like, everybody keeps saying, oh, it's the same map as Breath of the Wild. Doesn't feel familiar in the slightest. I have no idea where I'm at any given.
They rotated it.
Like,
It is the same map. It is the exact same map, but you're looking at it from a different angle than when you first started Breath of the Wild.
But I also just like went on a little exploration under the starting area and found this like big bone creature under the castle that was hiding under some rocks that I had to hammer away, and I beat it, and it was fun. And I was a little stressed, but I did it. I didn't even die, and I was like, man, sometimes this game is okay. But Bokoblins can get fucked, and that's why it's number 5.
That's amazing. Mike, please go ahead.
Swinging in at number 5, we have Destiny 2 Lightfall.
Ew, gross.
with the strand powers, you can Spider-Man
Wow.
swing.
Wow, you really
Uh,
yeah, just strand on me, daddy. What?
Again, I think similar reasons for Josh here as an honorable mention.
Mhm.
Um, all of the other outside noise of Bungie studio turmoil, which is no bueno, thumbs down, don't like it. Hope they right the ship there and hope those people get to do what they want to do because they deserve to. Um, they're really good at making games. The raids, like the Lightfall raid, is extremely cool. I think the dungeons this year have been pretty solid. The game is it's just a really fun game still, and I really like it. I think I would have liked. I think I've talked a little bit about this, so I won't belabor the point. But it's a bummer that there's a lot of, I think, interesting angles in the kind of Lightfall premise that are not really explored. About like, hey, there's this city that has been separated from the last city with the traveler, the iconic Destiny city. There's another human settlement out there that's been separated for hundreds of years at this point. And they that's not like the differences and like the skepticism that should exist there is not really something explored, and that's a tension I really wanted to I think there's a lot of interesting meat there as far as like writing and like an interesting story that's just not really explored super well. It's hinted at in some really cool art, but just not really explored. So I kind of had my qualms with it, but
That's
overall, I think
that's one of those things that I do hope that maybe once, the grand witness problem has been solved, that maybe they take a little time to go back and explore some of that.
yeah, because like the veil is coming up a lot more in this season stuff, so I think they're gonna pay off some of that stuff. But like again, it's like the real thing is like, okay, Neo Muna has like a mural with like guardians depicted as like weird skullish kind of freakish monster things compared to like their Cloud Striders who are like heroes uplifting the city. And I'm like, well, what's that? What's that story? I want to do that. That seems crazy and interesting that they would be like freaked out by guardians. Like that's cool. I wish they would did that more, but they don't, which is disappointing. But the game is still clicking along for me. It was fun. So comes in at number 5 for me. So
All
Ray,
right.
what is your number 4?
Number 4, Street Fighter 6.
Hmm.
I wanted years ago, almost 10 years ago actually, I wanted to like Street Fighter 5, but it was dense mechanically. I didn't like their character release model, which Street Fighter 6 is kind of sort of copying this year as well. And I didn't like the fact that Street Fighter 5 released with like zero story mode. It was kind of there, but it's like, no, this ain't it, fam. And I love Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 6 though is like, what if we made Street Fighter 5 but we made it like accessible to anyone that has a controller? And that it's freaking beautiful. It's not mechanically dense. It is very much the chess of fighting games right now. There's just enough that you could get people off of you. You could do combos. I watched a video the other day, and I watched just a Ken just knock someone around with a 19 hit combo. And I was talking with someone else that is a platinum ranked Zangief fighter, and I'm like, I had no idea Ken was capable of pulling off that 19 hit combo. And the fighter that I know said like, it's not about getting hit with the combo, it's coming back from that because the game gives you so many options to like after a certain combo string, you're not doing as much damage as the first two, three, four hits. But the game is great to watch. It's super accessible. It has modern controls, which some people, some let me be clear, some babies in the fighting game community have issues with modern controls, but they're fine. Not everyone needs to know how to do a quarter circle fire
Get out of
punch.
here, these babies.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it took me weeks to figure out how to throw a fireball in Street Fighter EX plus Alpha. weeks to know how to do it reliably. And the fact that you're making it so people can do it at the touch of a button and can hop online, they might still get their face beat in, but they're still putting up a fight.
Well, and it lets them get to the more interesting kind of strategic layer of fighting games
Yes,
faster, which is the hook that is really interesting.
Honestly, that's one of the main reasons I've never gotten into fighting games, because like, for the life of me, even if I could remember the button combos, which not very likely, but like, I just couldn't get. I could never quite get the like the movement right. It's like I felt like doing a Z on the D-pad. I could never.
The shuriken motion.
I could never quite get it. So like, sometimes hearing you talk about the quality of life improvements that they've made, it makes me Street Fighter curious a little bit.
It's really good, to the point where someone using modern controls got to number 6 in EVO 2023. Number 6 with modern controls. It's not baby mode. These are legit. It's a legit way to play the game.
Kind of tells you all you need to know. That's crazy.
Yeah. Now they didn't win, but it's the fact that when the game first came out, someone just hopped up there and it's the equivalent of Sonic Fox getting up there and getting to number 1 2018 Evo with the base game in the box PS4 controller. There ain't no Hori fight sticks out here. He came out here with the pack in.
That don't even got Hall effect.
He's gonna do it with the Mad Cats next time.
But Street Fighter 6 is really, really good. Specifically, if I will say, all the accessibility options. The single player mode is really fun and stupid because you can challenge everyone to a fight. The story mode of Street Fighter 6 is, hey, Metro City, it's the city from the Final Fight series. The city keeps getting jacked by gangsters, so the mayor instituted the policy. Everyone knows how to throw down. Everybody knows how to fight. And learning and, challenging someone to a fight like fist bumping or elbow bumping, that's just greeting someone. Then you throw hands, and you can throw hands with anyone. There's a hot dog vendor out there. Let me go ahead and get a glizzy. Then, by the way, hop out here to this pavement. We got to talk for a second.
Gobble on the glizzy and then catch these hands, bud.
Exactly, and that's fun, and it's funny, and the game plays it so serious. You go down to down to the subway and you're waiting for it, and you can get a slice of pizza like from a vendor, and then a guy who's just like, it was like a street performer. He's like juggling, and you can walk up to him and say, the icon appears above his head to challenge him to a fight. You're like, you want to stop those juggling? You want to do this? And he challenges you, and then you fight him, and it goes into 2D mode. It's
E for everyone, baby.
It's such a fun game. And I hopped online. I sometimes streamed a couple of rounds online to you guys. I'm loving it. I was thinking about it today. I think it's one of the best fighting games, one of the most honest and earnest fighting games I've played in a long, long time. This sounds cliche, but I'm happy to say it. Street Fighter's back in like the best way ever. I'm having a blast with it. That's my number 4. Going in the circle, Josh, what's your number 4?
Nice. My number 4 also has a 6 in the name.
Okay.
And that would be Armored Core 6.
Oh my gosh, I'm actually shocked.
I had it was a very tough battle for 4, 5, and off the list. So Armored Core still made the list, even though the game that is not on my list did take it out of my active rotation. Like, I have not finished it. It is still something I think about and have the intention to go back to when some of the other games that I have taken its spot are done. Like, and I know I talked about this on the pod where I really got into my feelings about it. I have very complex feelings about the game itself and like the difficulty curve, because I do truly think that the game doesn't do enough in the main missions to get you ready for the boss battles. I think the difficulty is like, baby, we're going to have a little bit of fun. Death, die 1,000 times, you fucking moron. Why don't
That's
you use
FromSoft, baby.
why don't you
That is
use
that
why don't
FromSoft
you
feel.
use why don't you use the skill we've never asked you to use before or ever even mentioned, you stupid moron? And then you go back down and it's like, hey, yeah, I'm a god. I can kill a bunch. I'm doing a good job. I got a couple little dudes. Yeah, oh my god. Here's a little tough fight with a couple actual named pilots. Ooh, 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 there we go. You fucking idiot. Why did you die 1,000 times, you stupid, stupid moron?
You
Like,
fell for it again.
fell for one of the classic blunders. Like,
Pulled the string, the box snapped down on top of his head.
yep. But that even so, even in my absolute abject frustration, that the day that I said if I don't beat it today, I'm uninstalling, like, despite that, I'm still like, I should probably get back to Armored Core at some point soon. Like, I feel the urge to get back into it more than the game that is not on my list,
Mm-hmm.
which, and it can spoil now, it's Starfield. Starfield didn't make the cut, and that's number 4 for me.
All right.
Interesting. All right. Well, hey, number 4, swinging in at number 4 is also Destiny 2. I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
It is Spider-Man 2.
Shocker.
I
I'm
went
a
on
little surprised.
Yeah, me
went on a
too.
bit of a rant here last time about my qualms with the story. It's just, it's very safe. It frankly does not really have anything really interesting to say about Spider-Man or Peter Parker or Miles Morales.
Mm.
Really, again, I think there's a weird kind of paranoia and self consciousness from the writer's side about like not wanting to take any risks. Like, oh, if we do Venom this way, then people on Twitter are going to be mad about it, so we have to do it this way. Or like,
Interesting.
just like I get it, but I don't know. Craven just does not really do anything for me as like an antagonist. Like I don't know. It's like if you are here for Craven and Venom, then this is the game for you. But like the swinging is fun. It's still great to swing and move around.
Mechanically very solid gameplay and whatnot.
The fighting is like okay. Again, the really like the fact that I have not played a lot of games and the swinging kind of gets it on here on the list because the combat is all right.
Okay.
I think, and the story is like has some cinematic moments that I thought worked really well. I definitely think. Sorry, I'm going to say one more thing. Like, I definitely think the superhero games have to get away from like we're doing the scary thing. Like it's like they're doing treading the same kind of ground that like Arkham Asylum did back in 2008, whenever that came out. I think
it's been a minute. Yeah.
it just again, it's not bad per se. I think, I don't know. But like it just is very much in that exact same like space, and it's doing the exact same things. So it's like, oh look, here's the things that Spider-Man doesn't want to have happening in the nightmare vision you're having. Ha ha ha. It's like it's just very well worn territory, and I
think that's an open world game symptom, really.
yeah, like I wish they would have. I don't know, like everybody like knows all of these Spider-Man stories in and out. Like, I don't know, do something different with them. Like, I wish they would have explored different places.
It
with
doesn't
and they
have
really
to be
don't.
verbatim.
Right, and it just in a lot of ways feels very like rote. Again, it's like not bad. It's just kind of This just feels rude, but a little uninspired sometimes.
No, I think that's fine. In the same year that Spider-Man 2 for Sony PlayStation 5 came out, you also have like the movie Cross the Spider-Verse,
Yeah,
which is like this tour de force of like really showing
audio visual madness. It's
what
like it's like
what
yeah,
animation
exactly.
means.
Right. I wish that movie had a third act. Not gonna be snarky about it, but because it's a half of a movie is what the problem is with that movie. It's one half of a full movie.
They really don't let you see that one coming till like the
Nope.
last 10 minutes, and then like if you've seen the
Real
movie before, you
bummer.
piece that together. You're like,
Real
oh,
bummer. Kind of a bummer. But generally, I think Rave, that's a really good point. It's just like it's rough to like see that kind of like explosive energy and creativity, and then just coming back to this game, and it's just like doesn't quite have it
yeah.
on that end. Just I don't know. But again, the whole package, I think, kind of all wrapped up together, still kind of solid. So it gets on here at number 4.
All right, cool. So my number 3 is Armored Core 6. Shock and awe, I love Armored Core. I've been playing Armored Core since the 1997 Armored Core came out in PlayStation, which I found in the mom and pop store, sealed in box, $150. I think that's insane. I would rather pirate it. It's a good game. It's not that good. But I've played a bunch of Armored Core. Before I played 6, Armored Core 3 was my favorite Armored Core game of all time. I hear you people out there that say Fort Answer is good. Listen, I don't have like I'm not constantly drinking enough caffeine to move as fast as Armored Core Fort Answer constantly requires you to move. Uh, Josh, just to give you a hint, imagine Armored Core 6, but you never run out of energy, so quick boosting is required. Imagine a game that's just like ADHD, the mecha game. That's the best way I could describe Fort Answer.
That sounds
And
exhausting.
it is mentally exhausting, but it has to this day a vibrant multiplayer scene and people like it. I can't take that away from them. But Armored Core 6 does away with that, right? It is a beautiful combination of Armored Core 3, Armored Core 5, and Armored Core 4. It takes all the best ones, in my opinion, smashes them together, and gives you a game, and it gives you this really cool story um, about consciousness, xenophobia, slavery, corporate overlords. What does it mean to actually have freedom? Uh, and I think I talked about this before on the
Get out of
podcast.
Eva, Shinji.
Hmm?
Get
There's a
out
little
of
bit of
Eva.
that.
But I will say, I
Hmm.
do think it is lazy
Uh-oh.
that it is only over radio chatter. Like, all you get is radio chatter cutscenes and sometimes a little bit of, radio chatter during the missions. But like there's you don't ever get to see anybody like actually emoting. You don't get to see like drawn out scenes between potential characters. They are all faceless, basically nameless people that you get to hear talking over stuff. And I will say, like, yes, there's an interesting story there, but I do think that method of storytelling is a little outdated and a little lazy in the year of our Lord 2023.
I want to defend this with one of the reasons why it made number 3. FromSoft used the exact same engine to make Armored Core 6 that they made Elden Ring. And the mad lads and lasses that made Armored Core 6 made everything to scale. So if you transport, you can do it. People are modding and doing it. If you transport an Armored Core from Armored Core 6 on PC to Elden Ring and PC, it's standing there next to a Tarnished, which is the name of the avatar. Everything is to scale. Everything. The Armored Core is 30 meters tall. So when you're fighting something like one of those big giant walking machines that you have to fight in one of the levels, that is to scale. And someone transported it to Elden Ring, and it's the size of the map of Elden Ring. And then when you're fighting on the space station, like a space station, it's bigger than the map of Elden Ring. As a matter of fact, one of the giant eyes that's rotating, it is to scale in the map of Elden Ring, and they put it up in the sky to show how big that is. And you're like, some artist designed this. There's a part in the game where you are required to distract this giant monster called the Ice Worm. The Ice Worm is to scale. It is the size of the map in Elden Ring. And while you're distracting it, someone has to fire a railgun from across the planet. And someone zoomed out and showed they scaled out to planet scale how far that railgun shot fires, and it strikes the ice worms. And you got this cool cutaway line where the music stops and the person operating the railgun says, "I won't miss." Yeah, and it hits the monster, and you're like, "You get fucking." And I was geeking out so hard about Armored Core 6. I didn't know what it was going to be when I saw that trailer in the Game Awards. I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool. It's just a CG trailer of robots fighting." But once you get it in your hands, the movement feels good. The energy blades feel good. All of the weapons, even after the balancing, they feel good. The first boss I fought, Balateus, was hard. I was up for like 3 hours trying to figure out how to beat it. But then the game does some really, really cool quality of life things. First of all, it gives you Estus flasks. For you Dark Souls fans out there, they just don't call them Estus flasks; they call them energy packs. Um, and it has a checkpoint system. Old Armored Core games, when you lost to a boss, you had to restart that entire mission. This is like, nah, you could restart from right here, and you could go to the garage, a little mini garage. So if you have a pre-built loadout, just change it right here. And you're like, tell you what, Balateus is using an energy shield. What if I use energy weapons? And I killed it in 30 seconds. Once I actually sat down and thought about, this is what the game is telling me to do. Because when I was firing kinetic weapons at it, like bullets, you could see a little thing that pops up on Balateus' energy shield that says ricochet, ricochet, ricochet. Just smart little pieces of game design. Like, I beat it 5 times, by the way. I need to get this out of the way. I beat Armored Core 6 5 times and got all 3 endings in the game, and I loved it. I It's not higher on my list because the other 2 games I think are just better, but this is actually one of my favorite games ever. Now, at number 3. Anyways, that's my number 3.
Very nice. This is a pro railgun podcast, to be clear.
Yes,
Very.
we are very pro railgun. All right, so for me, number 3, number 2, there was a contentious battle. Both are single player games that I am currently in progress on. But I think this game could potentially be higher on my list. But the only reason that it is not is that every time that I've had to play something by myself in the last 4 weeks, I have gone to my number 2 over this one. So number 3 is Mario Wonder. And I know that's one we've talked about recently on the pod. A lot of very positive things about it. Like, they've taken all of the best things about a 2D Mario platformer. They have brought it to this game, and they have modernized it. They have added a lot of really cool features to it. It is a fun story. It is a fun game to play. It just feels good. It is not.
This is good to hear from you, considering your trauma from the new Super Mario Brothers game.
Yes,
this is good.
It is not a disgusting, awful mess like that new Super Mario Brothers U or whatever. Like those games made me want to never play a Mario game again. They were awful. Lot of fun.
The multiplayer mode of those games.
Yes.
I think that is the incorrect way to play those games. I feel like it was a prank.
That's what they wanted you to do. Anyway, it was bad. They were awful. Traumatic, as Mike said. It's a lot of fun to play. It has been cool to share it with my oldest daughter. She's actually further than me because she's played it more than I have. And just the way that they. Again, I talked about this before, but like the way that they both expect people who have been playing Mario for a very long time and know the basics and know the language of Mario, but also onboarding new players, it gives you, it's the perfect way, like marrying of, hey, if you know what you're doing, you're going to get through these sections. It's not going to feel like a tutorial. We're not going to give you a bunch of unskippable stuff, and you're going to be able to get something that benefits you very quickly and accelerates the game. If not, you're going to have an opportunity to practice this basic skill and learn how to play this game, get rewarded for it, and utilize it again very quickly. Like, it is just It is great in that sense for new and old players. I think it's a gorgeous game, especially
Mhm.
when you play Tears of the Kingdom and watch the Switch go to 2 frames per minute. Playing this game and it just feels solid and
Get it.
locked and gorgeous. It's amazing, and I love it. I'm excited to play more. I will go back to it.
Mhm.
Just number 2 has been even more enthralling for me as of late. So yeah,
Okay,
number
all
3,
right.
Mario Wonder.
Go ahead, Mike.
Very good. My number 3 is a game we have already talked about here. It is Tears of the Kingdom. I
Okay.
think some of the reasons it is high for me are the following. One, I like to build the contraption. I like to
Yeah.
put the bokoblins into the device, and then activate the device, and watch the device go to work. I love that they made a Looney Tunes game, like the comedy of, oh, I'm gonna build a little thingamadoo to fly this Korok who's carrying a backpack that's too big to his friend, and then accidentally rocket blasting him off of the side of a mountain because I hit the wrong button by accident, and just seeing him like fly off miles away.
We forgot to talk about the Korok space program. Josh,
Yeah.
how many Koroks have we sent into low Earth orbit?
Yahoo! None. Absolutely
Low
None.
none.
Hyrule orbit. Um
Low
so
Low
Orbit.
Hyrule orbit.
a lot of just like
LHR.
I know a lot of people like did not really get into the new power set in this game,
Mhm.
and your probably mileage with this game goes a lot into, do you like the new stuff and like playing around with those tools, and we really liked that.
Mhm.
And I really liked the way the game kind of encourages you and rewards you for kind of breaking it. Like, there was a way to like do some of the puzzles, and like, what if we just build a big fuck off platform and stick it somewhere up here and do some other crazy thing, and then there you go. And it feels like they made like breaking the game part of the game, which
Yeah.
is really cool.
With the
Um,
Ascend power up, I feel like that was a bug that they said that's a feature
yeah, they
now.
literally, I think that was like they got the idea for it as because it was like a dev skip tool,
Mhm.
and then they're like, wait, let's just make this an actual power. Um,
It's so broken. I
it's
love it.
so I really got into like using all those tools because it is the same map, and I was like, I don't know about this.
Mhm.
But the tools change the way you interact with that environment completely. Um, which is really cool. Um I also really bought into like the score and the story of this game.
Mhm.
Like, it is a pretty, I won't spoil it for Josh
Right.
cuz he's playing through it, but like, I just like there were some like moments that made me feel like kind of sad when you kind of realize like what someone had to do to make things the way they are now.
Mhm.
And then the kind of realization at the end that you may still be able to like do something, and then it kind of all pays off in like a really fun, brilliant kind of final sequence that is just like, and like the theme is swelling, and it just like it all comes together and just like a really like Studio Ghibli full on like cinematic moment
Oh,
that
that's a
just
wonderful analogy
that
for
just
that. I like
really
that.
like, it just is pulling in like the the diving, the music, the like seeing like the wind and the grass, like it just all really clicks together sometimes. And I know there's like, I don't think anything you all about your criticisms of the game are wrong at all.
Mm.
This thing, it be chugging for sure. The Nintendo Switch is going to also fly uh off of your stand and into the trash can because it's gonna blow
I have a
up.
question real quick. Did
Yes.
anyone play this game in portable mode?
No.
No.
I played it for portable mode because I went to a convention and I brought it along with me. And I gotta say, yeah, activating Ultra Hand while in portable mode, it gets worse. That's all.
Nice.
Yeah. awful. Anyways, go ahead, please.
But yeah, just a lot of that stuff is just what really did it for me in this. I don't know. I just really liked the story on this one. Josh, can
Sounds
you
like
take off your headphones for like 30 seconds? Thank you. Like when mega spoilers, the realization that Zelda turned herself into like the light dragon to send the master sword to the future. I'm like, oh my god, they did the thing. If like, would you still love me if I turned into a worm?
Literal worm
And then you get to,
with a Y.
and then you get to save her at the end. It's just,
That part
it's so
that
good.
was probably one of the most unique Master Sword stories
That was
I think in
like
any Zelda game.
That was so cool. Like to really tie it to her and to like very noble sacrifice kind of thing. That is ultimate, but then you still get like the happy ending. Also, Ganondorf is cool as hell.
The dragon is there the entire. It's the first thing you see when you wake up. You're like, the dragon's been watching you this whole time. It's not a malevolent force.
It's so like just that really clicks. Okay, Josh, you're good. So yeah, that's why Tears of the Kingdom is number 3 for me.
I think that's neat. All right, so here's my number two. It is Mario Wonder, Super Mario Wonder. I think, and I said this in our chat before, I think on a technical level, this is one of the best video games ever made, purely on a technical level. It's also one of the bravest video games ever made, because unlike most Mario games, and this is no shade, most Mario games are phenomenal works of genius. Shout out to Mario Galaxy 2, and Mario Odyssey. I thought nothing could transcend like the insanity that is Mario Odyssey. And then Mario Wonder says, hey, we're going to make a 2D Mario game, but we're going to make every single level different. No, listen to me. Like, whoever the lead designer, we'll just say Shigeru Miyamoto, grabs you by the scruff, brings you in, and says, every single level is different. Every single one. Every single level is going to teach you a brand new way to play this game. And it's going to introduce a brand new mechanic. And hell, this level might introduce a brand new enemy that you will never see again. You will see it in this one level, you will beat it, and then you have to do something else. Do that for 8 hours. And like, as someone who's like disciplined in gaming, is a producer, I'm like, you want a different enemy in every single level? You want a different mechanic in every single level? How? Why? When? When would you have that? And then they did it. And it's marvelous. I beat this game in 2 days because I had so much fun, because every single time I was looking forward to every single new level. Every level has like a little name next to it and a little star rating for how difficult it is. And it's a new exploration of like a different way to play Mario. And then there's so many different power-ups. You think like, oh, Mario turns into an elephant, big deal. It's more than that. There are so many different transformations. And then they take it another step further. Every single level has a Wonder Seed, just about. And the Wonder Seed is, take this level and stretch the mechanics to a different limit. What if you got Long Mario? Long Mario is back. I don't know if you guys have seen the new Long Mario. Oh,
yeah, the Wonder Seed is basically like, yo, what if instead of a power-up mushroom, Mario took magic mushrooms and tripped balls for 30 seconds to 2 minutes?
I'm going to steal a phrase from Video Game Donkey. When in level 2, you take a Wonder Seed and the piranha plants start singing at you, you know you're effing around with the game of the year.
Yep. Well, it is also amazing, like, the way you describe Mario Wonder. It doesn't sound like a game that should be approachable to somebody who hasn't played years of Mario. Like, to sit here and say, like, oh, there's a different mechanic on every level. There's a different enemy on every level. Things change constantly. Like, that doesn't sound like something that should be approachable, honestly, to a novice or to somebody who's experienced, because you have a novice, you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, and you're gonna constantly change it. To somebody who's experienced, you're like, oh, I already know what I'm doing. Like this is how I play a Mario game, and then you're turning it on its head every other level. Like it doesn't sound like it should work, but it does. Like, and that's the incredible thing about the way that they've designed this game. It works on both levels, and is also constantly fresh and new at the same time.
That's the magic. That's the wonder of it. To go ahead and steal the phrase, I don't care if it sounds cheesy. It's actually
He
true.
said the thing. He said the
Yeah.
thing. He did
He
it.
said it. It's to take a game that never feels bored. Like if you like platformers, this is it. This is the top of the mountain. Everyone else, get down. Go down to base camp. I don't know what to tell you. I've never played a platformer that just says, yeah, there's a Goomba sometimes. There's a piranha plant a couple levels, but we have come to us. We have so much to show you. And yeah, and getting to the very final boss of that game, I didn't know what to expect for the final boss, and I didn't expect that. Anna came home from her shift, and she started watching me play for a little bit. Like at the last level, she's like, "What are you playing?" And I said, "I don't want to give it away." I said, "I'm shockingly playing Mario," and she's like, "This doesn't look." I said, I know." It's great actually, and I was like smiling the entire time. Yeah, number two, Super Mario Wonder. If you have a Nintendo Switch, you probably have Mario Odyssey. Bookend it. Go play Mario Wonder as well. Josh, what's your number two?
So my number two, a little JRPG inspired game called Sea of Stars.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so I've been playing that on Game Pass. I don't know much about the studio that developed it and whatnot. I need to do some research, but it is a very Final Fantasy like pre-7 inspired JRPG game, but with a lot of amazing modern takes on that gameplay. Um, you know, it is a love letter to JRPGs of the past and a adaptation of how can you make that in a modern setting. The art is beautiful. I'm really enjoying the story. The characters are phenomenal. Like, I've got 3 active party members, one that is a part-time, like, who's just along to kind of play a support role and kind of do some things in the lore in the background and flesh out the world a little more. The combat is really interesting in the fact that it is 100% time based, but it gives you a couple different ways to modify that. So first, it is active in the sense that as you're attacking and defending, you can time pressing A to potentially do extra damage, like do a double attack when you attack, or reduce the amount of incoming damage by blocking at that time. And it's even the game is like, you don't have to do this all the time. You're not going to get punished for it, but like the better you get at this, the more quickly you're going to get through your combat experiences, or the less often you're going to die. So, and the other thing is they have different. They give you a sense of like when the enemies are going to attack. They give you a little timer, but they also give you a break meter of, hey, if you hit this enemy with a blunt sort of attack, a sharp attack, and a sun magic, you're actually going to break their attack and they won't be able to attack that next round. So like you can get a little more strategic in how you are using your attacks, your spells, your combos. It's been really fun. The movement is very modern and easy flowing. And again, in the last couple of weeks when I've had that time where I'm like, oh, it's just me, I'm by myself, what I'm gonna do. Every single time I've gone back to Sea of Stars, like I'm interested in the world, the lore of this, the island and the world that we're in, the 2 main characters and their best buddy who is along for the ride. You get to choose between the 2 solstice warriors who are these seemingly predetermined heroes that get cycled through in generations, and then you've got Garl, who's just their old childhood friend who is like, yo, my friends are going up into this weird sky temple to train to be heroes of the world. I'm going to make myself the best combat chef that I can so that whenever they're ready to go into the world, I can go with them and keep them fed and use my pot lid to beat the shit out of enemies with them. And it's
I love it.
Garo's the best. I love him so much. He got his eye poked out when they were kids fucking around, and you know what? He wasn't mad about it. He's like, I love these two so much. I'm very much enjoying the game. It's free on Game Pass, but you can also pick it up. I would highly recommend it if you have any nostalgia or any love for old style JRPGs. This is a great love letter to it, and I would highly recommend it. And that's why it's my number 2.
Can I quickly,
Yeah.
because the studio that made this, I actually loved their first game. Mike was just talking about, we need more smaller studios making sustainable games. Sabotage Studio, this is their second game ever. And their first game I loved, I played in 2018. It was The Messenger. It's very much inspired by Ninja Gaiden, but it's a Metroidvania style Ninja Gaiden.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
And they're actually super active on social media. I commented to them on their Twitter page saying, "Hey, I just beat The Messenger. I really enjoyed the game. Great release, guys." And they're direct messaging me like, "We're so glad you loved it. Can you tell your friends? This is really cool that you liked it." I'm like, "Damn, thanks, guys.
That's pretty good.
That's really cool."
I'll have to go back and check out the Messenger at some point, but
I remember. Yeah, I
this
played a little bit.
this
of that,
does
yeah.
not feel like a studio's second outing. Like
Yeah, they're really good.
you
The
telling
Messenger's really good,
telling
too.
me that surprises me greatly. Like I know we're gonna get to another game here with some of you guys in a minute where yes, you've got a studio, but like there's a lot like the game is solid. Like story, gameplay, art direction, music, all of it is phenomenal. I am absolutely loving it. Ray especially, like you've got to play this game at some point.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
But yeah, so CSR's number 2 for me.
That's really cool. All right, Mike, go ahead, but I can guess what it is.
All right, everyone, get mad at me.
No.
Brace for impact. My number 2 game is Baldur's Gate 3.
Actually, it doesn't shock me.
Okay, just what did we talk about right before we did this podcast? It all makes sense. It's a loop.
It's a loop.
It's not a lake; it's an ocean. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, and as I've mentioned probably here and there on the podcast, I DM for our RPG group that we do semi regularly, and so I'm really into like RPG type games, and Baldur's Gate is basically the current rules of Dungeons and Dragons put into a video game, and the kind of amazing thing about this game is that Larian took the time and was allowed the time with things we've already talked about, that not every studio could, like, it would not be feasible for anyone else to really do this with how this game is made, which is cool. But like the way that this game has so many of these, like all of these systems layered on top of each other, like so many different permutations of how situations can go, how it kind of loops back to the story, but where it can branch off wildly. The fact that there's so much like care and craft to things that people might not ever see, just the kind of the volume of that, like spending so much time crafting all of these like bespoke in like instances, I guess, of things that it goes against all the logic of like how you're supposed to make a game effectively and efficiently. And it speaks to a real confidence in like the system and game that they have made here, because like the minute to like the combat is really rewarding when you start to kind of learn how like you're approaching all these situations tactically. Like you can like the build crafting is all really fun, but like it's really crazy to have all of these systems like you can, how are you gonna solve the situation? You could kill this person, you could do some kind of crazy magic thing. Like I can't even begin to describe like all the different ways this can all break and blow apart because we'll be here all night doing it. Like I can't even I can't even like think of a good single like one I want to name really to give an example of, but like just there's so many different ways that there's so many different like any approach is always feasible in a lot of ways. Like, hey, if you spec into like persuading and like kind of being a crafty talker, you can talk yourself out of boss fights and you get just as much experience doing that as you do fighting, which is great. So on top of all of that, get that really cool systemic like open world RPG, like super in-depth role-playing game like mechanics, you have a really great story with some of I think the strongest writing and acting I have seen in a video game ever, which is really really cool to have like a game that is so rewarding mechanically and have some of the most like memorable characters
Yeah.
in gaming for a long time. Like
Yeah.
it's like it not to talk about other award shows while we're giving out our awards here.
Oh.
But it's such a shame that like for the game awards only Neil Newborn could be nominated for his role in this game as a Astarion when like every one of the other main cast members
Mm-hmm.
like have such an interesting story and do really well. Like, I think like Shadowheart's story was like a really good like has some really cool big emotional moments that like because of the time and investment and how you approach it like feels really earned. Like, not to spoil stuff, but like there's a big moment where you think Shadowheart's going to do something really bad because her toxic religion tells her she has to do it, and you can either fight her to stop her from doing it, pass a skill check, like leave it up to a dice roll on one of your abilities to talk her out of it, or you just trust her. And like
Mm-hmm.
the trust her button, I think, is a secret check on like your standing of like all of your conversations to that point.
I think we talked
Um,
about this on the side.
and it's just cool that it like, and again, then it it's just so cool that they can like tie all of this stuff together. And again, I haven't even talked about like just it's just cool to like make your own character and like be in this world. Like it really speaks to all like why RPGs are really fun and cool. And if you've never checked out a D&D type of situation, I think Baldur's Gate is a really good kind of entry into that.
Yeah.
And to like what you can do in these spaces at its best. And just again, we could talk all night about this. I really won't, but yeah, it's a really special game, and it's um all of the accolades it has received are completely earned, and it is a remarkable achievement.
It should earn more accolades, actually. Some people are saying this. Well, my number
Number one.
one. First of all, I want to get before we introduce our number one. I want to get to my stinky game.
The
My game.
Stinko.
Yeah. I gave a special mention. I gave a special shout out to Gearbits. I want to give a whatever the
Cheers and jeers.
cheers and jeer. Yeah, this is a jeer, man. This is definitely a jeer. Final Fantasy 16.
Oh,
I don't I don't know what happened there,
oh,
man.
buddy.
I have played every single mainline number Final Fantasy game made. I own, I think, every one of them in some fashion. I think so. And I was excited for 16. I did not know I was getting Game of Thrones smashed with Devil May Cry. I did not like it. I, some of the cutscenes are, at minimum, half an hour long. They're in this 40-hour game. 11 and a half hours of it are cutscenes. That's not
That,
okay.
oh,
There were times, and
All right,
uh,
Kojima.
oh my gosh, it's actually Yoshi P, the guy that's the head producer for Final Fantasy 14. And yeah, it shows. You could do that with an MMO. You cannot do that with a single player game, my guy. Like, damn. There were times when I would like bust out, and I'm not joking. I would bring my like 25-pound weights and my yoga mat downstairs. So when a cutscene was playing, I would just get a workout in, and it would be like 20 minutes.
That's
Oh,
unreal.
it's true though.
buddy.
It's um, and if the game was more fun to play, I would probably not be as harsh. It wasn't that fun to play. It was like bad God of War because every time you unlocked a new power, you had no reason not to use that power. It was empirically better. It had lower cooldowns and it just did more damage. Stop the technique that you were doing, switch to this new one. That's the new hotness. Also, the story subtext message is bad. It's that the story is like, I think I mentioned it before back in the summer of like, hey, a lot of people that can use magic are slaves. And so you would imagine like the other people that can't use magic are the masters. When is the slave uprising coming? This seems like the
Yeah, you
perfect
know who I'm dying to have weigh in on the human tragedy that is slavery?
the
Final
the
Fantasy.
the
You
royalty.
know,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't. I'm gonna spoil this. Fuck it, I'm gonna spoil it hard. The slave uprising I waited for this entire game never happens. Actually, it gets worse as the game goes on. You see like a woman who's able to cast ice and water magic. She's being like beaten on the ground, and your main character does nothing to help her. And it was like driving me insane. You can't even do an
That just feels
interact.
gross.
It
Like,
is gross. It's bad, and your main character is like a crown
Sounds like your
prince.
main character's a cop.
He's a crown prince, and in a way, he used to defend the system, but he figures out, oh, the system in this world that we're in is bad. And it's like, then do
oh,
something
now whose
about
fault
it.
is that, my friend?
Please do. I'm
Final
begging you.
Fantasy,
Man.
more like a first introspection, if you ask me.
Oh, got
Yeah.
him.
Oh God. And anyways, that's my. I wish this game was better. I I wish Yoshi P all the best in the world making more Final Fantasy 14 content. Please do. If you make another mainline game, I need like the meanest producer possible next to you to like constantly bap you on the top of the head and say, "No, no, we're not doing that." That is their job.
Or maybe
Uh,
just tell him to step aside.
I don't want to be that mean, but maybe I don't know.
He might be cooked. You know, who knows?
So, FF16 aside, on to my actual number one. It's Baldur's Gate 3. I didn't know. I've never played a Baldur's Gate before. There's several of them. I've never played a D&D video game before. There's many of them. Based in the Baldur's Gate world, actually. It's a honored it's an honored setting for video games to use. And this one, it was darker than I thought it would be. It's like the opening cutscene is extremely graphic, bloody, and gory. I was like, oh, what did I sign up for? And then you get to the game, and I saw some articles. I want to backtrack a little bit. I saw some articles over the summer where they're like, game developers are freaking out about Baldur's Gate 3, and they're like, oh no, we're gonna make this. And I will tell you right now, all game developers like, we're not gonna make that. That's impossible. No one like, they're lucky they made that.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not even gonna try. That's not the conversation game developers are having. This game was in early access for what, 5 years, and they started making it like right after Divinity Sin.
Divinity
Divinity
Original Sin, too.
original, yeah, the second one came out, so that was in 2017, and Yeah, it's like, no, this is a diamond in the rough. No one actually thinks that this game could possibly be made. It's kind of a small miracle this game works. Just all the ways that it works. All
Act
yeah,
3
when you get
sometimes
to
gets
Act
a
3,
little.
because of the fact that the game is saving every single decision that you make constantly, and because of the fact the game lets you make like 30 or 25 different like quick saves, of which I may have filled out because you could go back and quick save any
I'm
single decision.
Ugh.
Yeah, no shame.
Shadowheart disapproves. Oh, quick load.
Karlak is mad at you about this. Listen, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry about it. Let me go back. Quick save. Um, the game is great. I couldn't believe there were so many decisions that were made in this game. It's funny, it's fun, it's dark, it's gross at times, it's evocative. It asks some really interesting questions, um not just about like a D&D world, but just about the human perspective. What would you give up to live a little bit longer? What would you give up for one more day? Or for some characters, what if you know that you have an end? There is a clock ticking. What would you do with those last moments? Would you ignore it? Would you live your life to the fullest? There's so much in the story of this game. And then there's the game itself. And if you don't like 5th edition D&D, you're not going to like this cuz it's just 5th edition D&D made into a video game. Godspeed, thumbs up, here you go. And I don't mind 5th edition D&D. I think it's fine. I think Pathfinder is easier to get into, but this is fine. This is perfectly fine. I loved it. I loved all the rules. I loved just the shenanigans. Ladies and gentlemen, the shenanigans. Let's
This game's got some shenanigans.
What if you're hovering above a spider pit full of spiders that are just waiting for you to fall into, which may have happened to me, and I may have had to reload a save file. But what if you're just like, you know what, this enemy is standing precariously next to it. Huh. You just push them off and let gravity do the rest of the work, and then the spiders go attack them. I think that's great.
Or this is a good riff, or what if you get pushed into the pit with
Mhm.
the spiders, and then you talk to the spiders because you have speak to animals, and then you start a spider rebellion, and then the spiders join you, and then
We were in a pit.
What are you singing?
It's Parks and Rec, baby. Mousetrap.
Goodness. The yes, talk to animals. I'll admit this. I almost cried because you get the power. So you get potions, or you get the power to talk to animals. Eventually, in the game, you get a dog that you can put into your camp. Drink the potion or use the power and talk to the dog in your camp. And I, as a dog owner, was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, when that scene played, I was like, "I think I'm about to cry." Oh my God, Jesus Christ! You can't do this to me, guys. You can't do this. Because you always wonder, like, hey, the way we got this dog was during some really bad circumstances. What does the dog feel about that? And then you ask the dog, and
what's
it
the
tells you
dog
how it feels
doing?
about that. And you're like, oh, this is such good script writing. The whole game is really well written. And then there's all the things that the game lets you do. Um, our friend Matt, he has some very hilarious things he's doing as a necromancer. All the NPCs have scripted dialogue for when you kill them and you use the power speak to the dead. They have
Mm-hmm.
words they want to talk to you about if you kill them or if they die. Um, all the animals have scripted sequences. You sent me that TikTok, Mike, about the pigeon that you could talk to that talks about the Great Pigeon War.
There's a battle pigeon. Like,
He's an actual battle pigeon. I loved it. There's a certain, I won't say where, but there's a certain cat that you could just run into in one of the cities, and the cat tries to proselytize to you and get you to join its cat religion. And me being a paladin, I said, I am interested. I'd like to hear more, cat. And the cat says, well, here's what my religion's like. What do you think? And you have the option, like, I guess I'd like to join your religion. And the cat says, kind of weird you want to join a religion that a cat on the street just made, that just told you about. Tell you what, get away from me, you weirdo. And I'm like, you know what? I like you, game. Fair enough. That is the correct reaction. just being some weirdo vengeance paladin. Oh yeah, and the fact that you could pick your character classes and you could role play in them. The game gives you so many opportunities. Like it gives you the dialogue choice of here's what you can say, but since you're playing a vengeance paladin, you little extra little snack that you could say. And I swore those little things put me so in the mood, just being in character of just like my character. Darius Iconoclast walks in and says, Darius says you stop fighting or I strike you where you stand. I'm like, get him! That's exactly what you should be saying! And then you roll initiative! God, I love this game. I loved beating it. I love the ending. I have to fight back the urge, some would say the dark urge, to start a new playthrough each and
Open
every
hand
day.
monk. Open hand monk. It's so busted. Do it.
I kind of want to go back and like just roll a different class. You could turn all the other characters. I didn't know this. You could turn them into different classes. If you
Yeah.
want to make a healer Karlach, you could do that. I think you're an idiot if you do that, but you can do that.
And they recorded dialogue for that. Like,
Yeah. There's
which is like when your character's like, I feel like I'm not the right class right now. They're like, they talk about that. It's just like, the volume is like,
I
the
can't
volume
believe
and the depth is
The
I
breadth,
cannot
There's
believe
nothing
so
breadth
much.
and depth.
So much
Yes.
was put into this game. Yeah, like in a game where in an industry where sometimes you get a bunch of games that are like an ocean that's just like an inch deep, miles wide, inch deep. This game is like the Marianas Trench of games. You went to the middle of the ocean and it just keeps going and going and going. All there's like so many of us in our group. We're all having completely fundamentally different experiences of playing the game. None of us is having the same experience, not even close. And I think that's magical. I think that's beautiful. What a wonderful game. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful video game. All right, Josh, sorry, please. You're number one.
My number one. So might surprise you a little bit. I looking at the list and looking at what I played this year, I had a tough time of like, what am I gonna say my number one is? Because I had a lot of different experiences, liked games for different reasons, but there's one game that I've had that I have played consistently throughout the year. It has the benefit of being out early, but it has been the go-to, like, I just need to have some fun game. And it is pulling on some nostalgia. It is pulling on some taking old things and making them new, but it is BattleBit Remastered.
I respect this pick. I respect it a lot.
Love it.
I love you for that. I think that's great. That's wonderful.
It's just like it is a game that I wasn't expecting, that I didn't know that I needed or wanted. I knew that I wanted. I knew I wanted Battlefield, but just kind of gave up on that kind of game existing. Like, I think that there has been some positive movement in Battlefield 2042. Like, DICE has continued to work on it, and I've heard positive things, but I just have that sour taste in the mouth. But BattleBit Remastered comes out with, on paper, you're like, oh, hey, what if, you took the Roblox guy and you played Battlefield? And you're like, okay, like, that's probably good for 20 minutes, but, like, that's not really going to have the staying power. 50 hours later, it's still going back to that game. It is being actively worked on, and it's fun. And it is the perfect blend of, like, being able to get in and get really nitty gritty and serious and tweaking your loadouts and, moving the slider 0.01 because that's going to give you better bullet drop on a distance, like, to just like, hey, I want to come out with an assault rifle and I want to go run around and I want to shoot people. Like, it has everything for everybody in that sense, and it still feels balanced and enjoyable almost every time I fire it up. And even sometimes when I know I'm absolutely getting my shit rocked and my team is losing by double the amount of tickets I have left, I'm still having a really good time because maybe I'm having a really good game. I'm hot. I'm having those emergent gameplay moments of being out somewhere and flanking a squad and wiping them out and then getting it's just there are stories that are happening across that game every single second of these matches and when you're playing in the 127v127 like they can be 20, 30, 40-minute matches but you don't really feel that because the way the tide of the battle seems to always be changing. It just yes, it is not as deep as a Baldur's Gate. There's not any voice acting. Like it is very
The voice acting is the chat, the live chat you get from your
Yes.
boys
Oh my
dragging
God,
you
how-
to safety.
This
After
is
you
this
get
is the I
wounded.
think this is the feature that I didn't know that I needed that is perfectly designed for me. But anytime you are nearby enemies or you die, your comms open up for about 7 seconds and it is visible to the person that killed you or any enemies nearby or any friendlies nearby, and it's incredible. It is hilarious.
That is one way to describe it.
I'm sorry. Sometimes it can be terrible. It can be awful. But other times you kill someone and they're like, "Oh man, there's no fucking way." And you press the mic button. You're like, "Yeah, there is. I fucking killed you, bitch." And it's oh my god, it's amazing.
I think you were there. We were playing last night where someone like killed me, and then they like with the little like Roblox looking nubbins, they dragged my corpse over behind the corner and started teabagging me in safety. The fact the game lets you do that.
It just yearns to a kind of era bygone. You know?
And with some modern quality of life enhancements, but it's just like it's all around. It's a great game, and I mean it's in very active development. I think it's technically an early access game, but like they've had some big releases and big changes throughout the year. They've been balancing it. They've changed the meta. There've been some changes I know they've made that weren't very well received, and they've worked around that. They take community feedback very well. It's a phenomenal game. It's only like $15, and I have already had way more, in the fun $2 ratio already well exceeded that price, and love it. We'll continue to play it, and yeah, it is easily my game of the year this year.
That pick. I like that pick.
Very good. All
right.
right.
Goaty, Mike. I'm curious.
No, I know exactly what it is. It's kind of
so
obvious.
my game of the year is Alan.
Oh
Wake
yeah,
2.
I forgot this game.
And I want to tell you a couple reasons why. Again, the difference, like this is just like by a hair over Baldur's Gate 3, and it's mainly because the Act 3 technical concerns of Baldur's Gate are annoying.
They're bad. They're bad.
They're a little rough, and I'm like, compared to Alan Wake 2, which is just a immaculately run, at least for me on PS5. It looks so gorgeous. Like it feels like a next gen game in a way a lot of PS5 games haven't really. Like it is such a visual delight. Like there are like sequences where you do a big change and then all of a sudden like the entire level like flips all around you, and it's just cool how quickly all that stuff pops in. Like they do sequences where like your character is walking down like a hallway and then they're like overlapping, and because this game has two protagonists, spoilers, But
Oh.
like your like one character is like walking in the path, and it's like overlapping with things that you're seeing from like a similar perspective at a similar time in the other character's story. And it's like it looks so cool. Like they do a really amazing job, like kind of adding a really good like psychedelic factor, like technically, and it all just like the environments are all just like really gorgeous anyways. um and on top of all that, so it's like it's the whole premise of this game is kind of wild, right? Like especially as you kind of learn, like not to go like outside of the game itself, but like Remedy wanted to make a sequel to Alan Wake 2 pretty quickly after the first one, and it came out in like 2010, I think. Microsoft told them no.
Mhm.
And they had to like get the rights back from Microsoft to make this game. So
That's really
it
cool.
has been something that has been on their mind for a long time, and they've been building to it for a long time, because this game pulls in a lot of things from a game I didn't play, but like pulls in some ideas from Quantum Break. It pulls in lots of ideas and some familiar faces from Control.
Okay, all right. I
Um,
liked Control.
and it just builds this all into this really well crafted, immaculately directed, like 20-ish hour survival horror masterpiece. Like,
Mm.
and I think it does a really good job of having like, you know, it's got the classic Remedy like full motion video stuff, which is like a little kind of goofy, but that's kind of the point. Like they have the fun stuff with it, but also like some of the most heartbreaking sequences in this game are delivered by like a human actor that you're watching. And that's really cool that they're just like confident enough in the package that they have delivered to like, yeah, we're not gonna like render this in the game engine. We're just gonna point a camera at an actor, and they're gonna act, and they're gonna watch it in the video game. And that's really cool.
That is
um
cool. It's the
the
art of making video games,
Yeah,
friends.
it's just like a lot at its best. It feels like a crazy like multimedia collage that's all kind of, because it's like about a writer who, and like his character is like in this story too, but it's like pulling on all of these strings in really fun ways. So it's like, again, the big love letters to things like X-Files and Twin Peaks, which really hit home for me aside, are just super fun. um Again, there's some other kind of things I don't want to like, I won't spoil. But some of my like favorite, most like kind of jaw dropping, like, oh my god, here we go kind of sequences are in this
Mhm.
game. Um, and it's just, again, if you are somebody who has played a survival, like if you're somebody who played Resident Evil, any of the modern Resident Evil games, like 7 or 8, if you played any of those, you have to play this game, because this game has a good ending and is good for the second half of the game,
I
instead
I
of
am
bad.
I am
Um,
currently taking your advice and playing Alan Wake 1 right now, while also watching Twin Peaks of Return. I'm having an odd Christmas, is what I'm trying to
I'm
say.
late. I gave you a lot of homework apparently. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
Um,
It's fine.
but I think, because I already talked a lot about it last time, but I think just the way it all kind of pulled, because it's very much a game about like the that it it's 13 years since it's 13 years since they made the first one to a game. It's like a
Mhm.
sequel to a game that wasn't that big of a hit really. So it's like really just the concept of it is really wild from the jump, and they just absolutely crush it in terms of just like the environments. I mean, the gameplay itself is just it's pretty straightforward, but it's fun. Um, and just their confidence in like letting some of the biggest moments of the story be delivered by like actors, and just list it's just it's a really groovy thing, and I'm really happy that they got to make this game, and it's really cool, and I really
I
absolutely adored it.
I bought it on the for those of you interested in it, Epic Game Store is having a sale on it. You buy Alan Wake 2, you get the remastered version of Alan Wake for free.
We
which
don't
is
get the
hella
promo.
fun.
Cut this.
All right, all right.
Tim Sweeney, we
Wait
gotta
till
talk
we
if
get
want
the
that.
affiliate link, and then
Yeah,
we'll
hold
pop it
on.
out there.
Oh,
Bleep that.
bleep.
Beep.
No, you're right. Okay, that was
That was the game of the year pod.
We did
I
it.
I like how everyone had a different number one. That's very. I don't think it was that way last time.
2023, good year for games.
Yeah, it was a big year. That was pretty impressive, and hopefully 2024 is just as big. And you know where you can go to find out if 2024 is as big as 2023?
Wait, can I make one minor final last note?
Okay.
Listeners at home who are keeping track of the Sarah Belt, with how her Game of the Year award works, because she's like, why should there be a different Game of the Year if the one from last year is still just as good? The current holder of the belt is Animal Crossing. Nothing had surpassed Animal Crossing until Tears of the Kingdom for Sarah. So Tears of the Kingdom has defeated Animal Crossing in the ring and has taken the belt.
Well, do you
Okay.
know where you can go to find out if 2024 can unseat the usurper Tears of the Kingdom?
Where?
Unscriptedgaming.com. There you can get links to all of our media all across the internet. You can find our Facebook Unscripted Game Podcast. You can get us on X at
Formerly Twitter.
_gaming. SoundCloud.com/unscripted-gaming will get you links to audio versions of our podcast. We are on all of the relevant and big podcatchers. I probably need to look into the YouTube music change now that that's happening. So stand by for that one. But you know what? Just use Pocket Cast, like whatever. Just use a different one. But thank you for listening to Unscripted Gaming. My name is Josh.
My name is Ray.
My name is Mike.
Peace.